joining us from. There we go. That was my next thing. It is being recorded, just so you know. So please keep your audio muted. This is gonna go great, guys. Audio muted as we get started. A few other quick housekeeping things as we get started here tonight. We do have the Q&A box at the bottom. If you have questions for the panelists, please put your questions in there before we get to the Q&A section later on tonight. And the chat will be moderated. So if you have questions that you could want to put in the chat, we can put those in the Q&A for you. We'll get to those at the end. The presentation will be available on our YouTube page afterwards. So everybody should be in. We should be settled by now. So welcome everybody, and huge thank you to our panelists and our board for being here tonight. I want to start by acknowledging that this presentation is being brought to you by the Will Victoria chapter. So we are coming to you from the unceded territory of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, including the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. We are incredibly fortunate to be coming to you tonight from this part of the world, and welcome to all those from Victoria, across Canada, and anywhere else in the world that you happen to be coming from. If you know which territories you're joining us from, let us know. And if you don't, then we have a link for you. We're going to pop it in the chat so you can check where you're from and share with us the territories that you are on. In light of what came out today in Saskatchewan and what's been coming up for all of us across the country, it is so important that we take the time to understand and educate ourselves on what happened and how we move forward. So if you have any other resources that you want to share in the chat, please do. We'd be happy to hear them. Tonight, we are pleased to be presenting our panel on entrepreneurship as part of Women in Leadership's Career Development segment. The Women in Leadership Foundation was founded in 2001, and we strive to deliver inspirational programs that bring women together to support the development of their leadership skills and create positive change in the future of women's leadership. You can see our website on the next slide if you want to just move over there. Not controlling the slides. That was my fault. Sorry, guys. You can see our website there. If you want to learn more, check out our website, and you can join our newsletter as a member. It is free. You can hear about all of our upcoming events. My name is Jessica. I will be moderating our evening tonight, and I am the sponsorship lead for the Will Victoria chapter. When I'm not volunteering for Will, I'm a business broker and M&A advisor, helping entrepreneurs value their business and plan and execute their exit strategy. I want to do a big shout out to our leadership team tonight, the Will board for helping us out, and our national team, and of course, our incredible panelists for making this happen. We are going to get started right away and start hearing from our panelists, because that's who we're all here to see. So I'll introduce them quickly, and then we'll move forward and they can tell us a little bit more about themselves. If you want to move to the next slide. Tessa McLaughlin is up first. Tessa is the founder and director of Quench, a Victoria-based but globally ambitious work and culture club. A passionate believer in the power of human connection and the importance of creating space where people feel like they belong, Tessa leads the third wave of co-working by offering us the much desired multi-service work club experience. A serial culture and community instigator, Tessa has established civic award-winning initiatives, spearheaded cultural events and festivals, was dubbed the Queen of Culture by Douglas Magazine, and won the forum's first annual Force to be Reckoned with award. She's an environmentalist, a women's advocate, and an inclusivity warrior who continually considers the social and environmental impact of all she does. So welcome, Tessa. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tessa.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, is this where we're supposed to say something? You've said it all.
No, I'm going to introduce everybody first, and then
Great.
I'll get you guys to take your time and tell us a little bit more about yourselves and your experience. My bad, sorry.
Oh.
So up next, we have Alexandra Dawes. Alex is the founder and CEO of Virtual CFO Solutions. She started her accounting career working in public practice in Victoria, BC, focusing on Canadian and cross-border tax. She eventually moved into a senior role with the virtual accounting firm where she found her passion in helping startups while completing her CPA. Since starting her company, she has been helping startups and tech companies with all things finance. Her focus is on Victoria-based companies, but she can work with companies across Canada on a remote basis. And next up, not last but not least, Theresa Ito. Theresa is the principal owner of Blue Mountain Solutions, a customer service and leadership training company. She is an enthusiastic and energetic trainer, speaker, and consultant who uses her experience to inspire change within leaders and colleagues. Theresa has over 30 years of international hospitality experience, has trained teams in Canada, Mexico, England, Jamaica, Maui, and California. Very cool. So huge thank you to all of you guys for being here tonight. Entrepreneurship is definitely a bit of a roller coaster. So we really appreciate your wisdom and your stories to help other women on this roller coaster ride of their own. So I'm going to pass it over to the panelists to chat a little bit more about themselves and their businesses. And Tessa, let's start with you.
Damn, I thought you were going to do Theresa first. I thought we discussed this. Yeah, what to tell you. I guess I can tell you a little bit about how I started Quench and how it came to fruition. And yeah, so about 9 years ago, my life took a really sudden turn that I wasn't expecting. And I ended up in Victoria here with my two very young kids at the time. They were 5 and 3. And I was really trying to do what I could to sort of maintain a happy life for myself. You know, I had this real belief that happiness came from a multitude of things. And so I was trying to, you know, eat well and stay healthy by like, you know, I was going to yoga here, and then I was going to, you know, the YMCA, and then I was doing courses to try and stay engaged. So I was taking courses at Camosun College and trying to meet people, and then having meetings with people, and it was just all this busyness. And I was just like, man, this trying to stay happy and healthy and as a rock for my kids is a really time consuming thing, and that busyness is contributing to my unhappiness. And so I sort of was like, why isn't all this stuff under one roof? Not long after I'd sort of had that thought, I was over in Vancouver and I was visiting a friend who was a member of the Arbutus Club. And I was looking around at this club and I was like, oh, well, this is what I want. But I want it for people in the creative industry and people who are, you know, are building things and starting things, and not just as a fitness facility. And so that's when I started really developing this concept of what, you know, then was a co-working space, but with a new twist on it. And yeah, so I ended up starting up, helping the Watershed start their first co-working space. So I founded that for them. And then I left and I worked on Quench. And so that was, just to give you a range of like when I came up with the concept, was in 2013. And so I worked on it until I opened up the first Quench location, which was 2017. And then we opened up the location I'm in now, which is 2019. So it was one of those, you know, niggling things that just wouldn't go away for me. It was just like, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. So yeah, thank you.
I love that. It's definitely like the passion that really drives you, the thing that you really want to do, that you continuously care about. Alex, why don't you go next?
Yeah, sounds good. So as you heard, I sort of started my career in the very traditional accounting way that everyone starts. And I very quickly realized that it just was not my thing. And for those of you who don't really know what like the traditional accounting firm life is like, there's a lot of paper, there's a lot of hours being tracked, there's just a lot of old school mentality. So anyway, I quickly realized it wasn't for me, and I kind of figured out that there was a virtual side to accounting and like a cloud-based side, and I was like, well, there's a lot more than what I'm seeing. So I kind of made my way to other more progressive firms in that way to gain some experience. And then eventually just decided to take that locally and work fractionally for a couple of local companies. Slowly that, well, actually quickly, that turned into a few clients. And, I just realized there was such a huge need for like this fractional finance work. So not just the see you once a year tax return, but like I need to see you at least once a month. So from there, that spark kind of created this company. And I also realized I couldn't do it all. So I hired a great team to support me on that. And it's been just over 2 years now since that started. And it's absolutely been a roller coaster ride, especially with 50% of that taking place during COVID. But it's definitely been a rewarding career, sort of progressive career of where we've gone with the business and with what we've accomplished and everything. And it's cool to actually do the virtual side or the cool part of accounting, I like to call it, rather than just kind of sticking to that straight line, narrow, role that most people go into. And it's a lot more exciting over here, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. I love that. The cool part of accounting. Accounting is cool. Finance is great.
Absolutely.
Theresa, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. That's so interesting to hear Alex and Tessa as well. Thank you. My name's Theresa Ito, Blue Mountain Solutions, and I'm on the land of the Lekwungen and Wasanish people. And I really appreciate Jessica starting this session acknowledging that, because the more we educate ourselves, the better we will be at educating the next generation. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jessica. So I started my first business in the year 2000. Previously, I'd been a general manager, a very, I guess, as Alex would say, sort of traditional way, but in hospitality and in the hotel industry. So I'd worked my way up to being a general manager with Sandals Resorts in the Caribbean, first female director of ops, and then first female general manager as well. I was with them for 7 years, wonderful Jamaican-owned company. But I was working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. I had 2 small children. One was 4 at the time, and one, she was 9 months when I decided, okay, this is lovely. And our live-in nanny is like a sister to me. And my husband had chosen to do his own business so he could be the primary carer, but it was time at 4 and 9 months old. So it was when we moved to England, that's when I decided again, there is no judgment of how other parents do it. I really admire how everybody does it. And you have to find your own way. And I've done it many ways over the years of raising my children to 27 years old. But so that the driving force for me was, how could I stay in hospitality, but be a more present parent, and a parent that unabashedly would go to every sporting event and walk the children to school. I really wanted to walk them to school every day and pick them up every afternoon. You think, well, that's a hell of a tall order, but it depends. If you really want that and you keep that central to what you want to do, then it can happen. It really can. And my children walked to and from school for 14 years, both of them, with me, until it wasn't cool to do that, of course. Anyway, I ran the business for 8 years in England, primarily training people in hospitality in Cambridge and the UK. And the driving force, or where I saw the niche market, was I had come from Jamaica, where in general, Jamaicans have hospitality just running through our bloods. We just love to look after people. We have so much to share, gregarious and welcoming. And then moving to England, it was like a lot of the feeling then was that, it's second class to be in the hotel industry, and people who fell out of their careers found themselves, as a room attendant or server. And I was like, what? No way, you choose to do that stuff. We should be so lucky to be serving people and doing what we love to do. So that's where I thought, I'm going to bridge that gap. And boy, was it successful. And I did that for 8 years. But my biggest challenge for sure for those 8 years was keeping my excitement for the business without growing the business. Because for me, I personally didn't want to be responsible for anyone else. I just wanted it to be filling my time. And then I still wanted to take the whole month of Christmas off, filling my time. And then I want to take 2 months off in the summer, because that's what I wanted. I also had a child that I know needed a lot of surgeries, and I didn't want to be hearing from my other parent, that I wanted to lead that. And yes, maybe the control freak side of me, I'm okay with that. And I'm glad I did. Then we came to Canada, fell in love with, oh my God, Victoria, like, holy cow, who told us this was here? We came on holiday, and 364 days later, we all moved here. So coming here when I was 40 years old in 2008, I'm glad the lights aren't too bright. That in 2008, I've been running my business for 8 years, but I couldn't exactly, I felt, go into business here in Canada when I'd actually never worked a day in my life in Canada. That seemed a little bit rich, perhaps. So I went back into the industry, took a position 2 steps down from general manager, was food and beverage manager at the Empress, and very much got experience with 3 different hotels, worked my way back up to GM, but 3 very different styles of hotels in Victoria. So I could really get some experience. So I did that for 8 years. And then when I thought, right, I think I've got enough now that I can relaunch the business. And absolutely for different reasons, I relaunched the business. I did it for independence. I didn't want to just be paid $100,000 a year. I'm so much more worth, so much more than that. I mean, really, I wanted flexibility. I didn't want someone to tell me I could have 3 weeks vacation a year. 3 weeks a year. Sorry, North America. No. And I wanted to travel. And I wanted to travel on someone else's dime. I wanted to travel. I want to go work in Mexico. I want to go work in the Okanagan. So I want to sculpt my life the way I wanted it. So that's a little bit about me.
Right? Everyone's just like, that sounds amazing. Like the best reasons for getting into business. I love that. We're going to get into the questions for the panelists now. And if you hear something you like, or if you have things that come up, throw it in the chat. I see some people commenting on what's being said. Comment, let us know what you think and how you feel as we go through this tonight. So our first question for our panelists is kind of a 2-parter. We've been through a pretty wild ride in the last year and a half. It seems to be opening up now a little bit, but we're gonna start with some of the tougher stuff. What were some of the challenges and barriers that you faced throughout the years? And on top of that, how did COVID impact your business and change or shape your approach to leadership? Alex, let's start with you this time.
All right, sounds good. So our business too, I don't know if I've mentioned this or if it was mentioned, but our business is actually 100% virtual. So from the beginning, which was actually pre-COVID, we were essentially set up for this ahead of time. So that was definitely something I'm fortunate to have had in place already. But with that said, running a business virtually from the beginning brings its own challenges. So I think that has really shaped my role as a leader and how to, deal with that. And I've learned quite a bit from it. I would say what I've learned is really to have that trust in your employees and continue to have that trust, because you're naturally at a distance. It is what it is. And so I learned that from the beginning. And then of course, COVID came along. And that brought its own challenge. But thankfully, we were already in the structure that we needed to come through that. The challenge really was how to keep that strong face with staff, clients, even though no one really knew what was going on, no one knew what to expect. But for me, it was just really important to, I guess, have a normal outlook of things, or look for opportunities as opposed to looking at the worst case scenarios. I mean, I'm an accountant. I look at all scenarios, but I think having that view of where's the opportunity here? I mean, we work with tech, we work with online business, like this is exciting. And so kind of turning that around and having that, presented to clients as well of what they can do and to our staff, I think that really helped turn that mindset around as well. So yeah, that was sort of our last couple of years.
Yeah, awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Like you are already in a good place to be virtual, obviously, and then just everybody was so unsure with what was going on in the last year. So it's hard no matter where you're at. Tessa, do you have anything to follow up?
Yeah, so I think the first question, if I remember, was what were the challenges that I saw in starting up the business. So the biggest challenge for me in starting up Quench was financial. My business is completely reliant on having space, because I sell space and I sell events and culture and a place for people to meet and gather. So in order to build the first location, I needed a lot of capital. And that was incredibly difficult, as a woman, as a single mother, and as someone who'd been divorced. So I had no assets. I had very little proof of income because I'd been looking after kids for 5 years and was only working part-time. So I didn't have I didn't have that record of tax returns that people wanted. And as we all know, if we don't, we should. Female founders get 2% of all VC money that's out there in Canada. 2%, Theresa. And so 50% of women, of entrepreneurs in Canada are women, and women get 2% of VC money. They get 4% of business loans. And then they get 16% of conventional loans. So that is crappy. And it was something that I was seeing everywhere I turned. And it started making me really depressed and anxious and stressed. And then at some point, I just had to just breathe through it, basically, and go, you know what, this is a reality. So you getting angry about it's not going to change it. You've just got to find a workaround. So that would have been my biggest challenge. And, we did find a workaround for it, that involved investors coming in at different times. And then finally, for me, I actually had a massive advocate in a bank, someone at the bank who Jessica knows. And he came in to me at Quench and he was just like, I just love what you're doing. I want to support you. And I was like, good luck, buddy. Like, woman, single mother, no assets, go for it. And I said, I don't have the time to apply for any more bank loans with the bank because it takes way too much time and you never give me any money. So I don't have time. So he did it all for me and he got me the money. So that was the hardest thing. What COVID did for me, obviously Quench is built on providing office space, so place for people to work and events. So COVID hit us kind of hard. But one of the things that makes us so good is our community. So I build spaces where it's about the people that are in here. And that really shone through during COVID. We had so many members that kept paying their membership, even when we were closed, because they were just like, we don't want you going anywhere. Victoria needs this. Like, we want to see you succeed. So we had a lot of that. And I think in terms of what I learned was really the whole time was to come from this place of compassion. And my team as well, we were just like, compassion, compassion, compassion. People experience fear in different ways. And that could be by hoarding money or hoarding toilet paper or, really hunkering down. But I was like, let's just come from a place of compassion. Let's be understanding. And that's what we did. And I think that's what's enabled us to survive through this.
That is amazing. I'm like, I can't imagine that wouldn't make a huge difference. We were all been coming from totally different places this whole time. So that's very, very cool. Theresa, what about you?
Great. Yeah, that is so cool listening to you. Gosh, you guys. So certainly when I was starting the business, so in the year 2000, yes, I had been a general manager, but all of a sudden I was in a different country. Nobody knew who I was. You kind of leave your reputation behind and you come to, and as a general manager, I had a secretary. So I had actually never sent an email in the year 2000. And I remember the computer arriving, and my hands were trembling as I opened the box. So and my mum helped me send the first email that I sent and helped me send a text. I just didn't know what I was doing. So technology kind of freaked me out, which is not a great place to be in. but also there were a few courses that if you signed up and did them in England, like, 2-hour courses on, writing a business plan. And it's sort of if I did 4 of them, then I was assigned a mentor, and the mentor was going to be in the same field as me. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. So I did them as sort of through the Chamber of Commerce-y kind of in Cambridge. And I was like, great. And then at the end of it, this gentleman phoned and we arranged, and he came round. And so in discussing my ideas that I had for starting this business, it hadn't started at all yet. And we stuck on the money side, so similar to Tessa. So he was like, well, how much are you planning to charge for a training day? So this is leadership development. I had all these great ideas that I was getting down and everything. And he said, what are you thinking of charging? So I said, £700 a day. And he went, sorry, £700 for one day, like 8 hours? And I said, yes. And he said, for what? For one day? And I said, yes, to start with, and then it's going to go up. And he said, oh, my dear. And he sat down and he said, I've been doing this for like 20 years in the same market that you're going to come in for. And I he was much older than me, wiser and all of that. And he said, and on my highest paying client, I don't get £500. And I remember looking at him, and my inside voice said, you are not my mentor. I'm not listening to you. How dare he tell me what no, wrong guy. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Made some little notes and saw him out the door with a cup of tea. Lovely. I very quickly put my rates up to £1,200 a day. And I think as women, we don't talk enough about money, and it's not cool to be driven by revenue my revenue comes because I delight my clients. Let's make no bones about it. And because I love what I'm doing. But I'm also really excited when the business can grow. And it just so happens that it had to go to 0 and then grow again in the last year and a half. I'm not that excited. I don't really want to go through that again. So that was certainly when I was starting, it was, like, what are other people? And I don't believe in giving discounts and for myself. And I don't believe that I do believe that I am what I'm worth, but I'm not for everybody. That's okay. Not everyone can afford me. That's totally fine. Or our services, and it's to really believe that, I think, but also come from a place of understanding, make sure you've done your comp set, make sure you know what values you're adding and that you're speaking to your clients' pain points for sure, and that you can produce, no doubt about that. But for me, certainly in the last, the last 16 months, holy cow, March 13th, Friday the 13th, March, basically when I finished my training session in town, I switched on my phone and just blah, 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 blah. And basically in all those messages, it showed me that what was a record year of 2020 went to 0 on the books. My husband had just joined me. That's my second husband. Sometimes it's better second time around. He had joined me in the business, and we literally had a massive, the biggest contract we had ever signed starting April 1st. Well, that company closed its doors. The doors were closed on April 1st, so it meant nothing. And it was we just watched it all just disappear in front of us. So similar to what Tessa said, connection and community. I mean, I've been here 10, 12 years now. So for me, the connection I had with all my clients, I really wanted to stay connected with them. I felt like, oh my goodness, I've kind of want to be in all their hotels and restaurants. And I was primarily in tourism and hospitality. That's where it's all word of mouth. I've never advertised before. So people had just come to me that way organically. It was lovely, all these great connections and relationships. So I just felt the need to reach out and be in touch with them all. So literally, I made these phone calls, which were difficult to make, but they weren't. The why was easy, why I would be reaching them. But the first minute on the phone, until they realized that I'm not calling to say, so when would you like to book your next leadership development session for your 12 leaders who you've just laid off? That wasn't what I was calling for. I was calling to say, how can I help? What can I do? I'm not charging any of my clients. Tell me how I can either help with consulting or training, because there's nothing on the books anyway. So let's just put that aside until we get through this. And they were like, are you kidding me? The second thing I did was and it was so lovely to talk to everybody and just to say, how are you doing? How are the kids? Or how is your, how are your parents, whatever. But also I started hospitality sessions. So realizing that so many of us in this hard hit area were just laid off, and that they were sitting at home, I could see the change in Instagram and Facebook and other ways that people were lonely and losing touch. And let's face it, this is a people business, where we're all in people business, but extra more so. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do hospitality sessions, and anyone can join. You can, whether you're in tourism, hospitality, or otherwise, but this is open for anybody, and we're going to do them once a week, and we're not going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. And there's a place for that, but that's not what we were doing. We're going to learn stuff. And it was an hour and 3/4 every Tuesday, and people could just join by Zoom. Now, yours truly hadn't actually run a Zoom session ever. I'd only attended 2, and you already got the feeling of technology, how my hands are trembling, opening the box, right? So I was like, I better lead this damn thing. This is my time. I need to lead. So I learned very fast, very quickly, some great friends, and my sister Natasha, who lives in Jamaica, who switched her whole business online, and we learned together. And then the first session was how to use Zoom. This is how to use Zoom, everybody. And, this is how it works. Is everybody with me? And we all worked together, and they got the notes afterwards. We did 12 weeks of those hospitality sessions, and the notes and messages and small gifts I got afterwards, just to say, you have no idea, it's the only time I got out of bed this week. And it was, had to have your cameras on and microphones on, because that's who we are, right? So that was, for me, it was connection. After I checked, am I 2 feet on the floor? Yes. Can I feel myself breathing? Yes. Am I okay? Great. Husband, good. Children, good. All 4 children now. I've got 2 of my own and 2 that are on our blended family, checking everybody. Okay, what do I need? And it was connection for sure. So yeah, that's what we did.
I love that. It sounds like everybody has that connection as being the root of what was going on over the last year and a half, and then even prior to that. It makes such a difference. It's really like the heart of what we do and why we do it. It's nice that everybody kind of has that same feeling. For our next question, it's a little bit, that one was like the challenges and the hard stuff. This one is a little bit more like the fun stuff. How do you generate new ideas, and what has been your most satisfying moment in business so far? Tessa, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, well, new ideas just sort of come, don't they? You never know when they're going to come to you. They just come, and you've got to sort of be open to them arriving, and willing to recognize them and be like, yep, okay, I see you, thank you. I always like that. Have you guys read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert? She's the one who did Eat, Pray, Love. Anyone in the participants, I'm sure there's some people that, and she has that line where she talks about, well, no, the whole book is really about big magic and how ideas are kind of floating out there, and if you grab them, it's your job to do something with it. But if you don't do something, it'll go on to someone else. So I really like that concept, and I definitely feel that when I came into the building that I'm in now, I really had that moment of, oh my God, this is it. This is the building. And it was a completely derelict attic, but and we've made it into what it is now. So new ideas, I think keeping my eyes and ears and feelings open to where I see pain points and gaps. And then the second part of the question was,
what has been your most satisfying moment?
Oh, so I think my most satisfying moment, I have this real memory of when we first came into this building. It's about, I don't know how many people have been into Quench in Victoria, but if you can come in, like, do come in. It's pretty spectacular build, very unassuming. And so I'd spent all these years since 2013 with this idea, telling people about it furiously, and people just going, oh, yeah, sounds interesting. Like, I don't know who would use it, kind of thing. And then we moved in, and because I'd been in another location on Fort Street, one that was 5,000 square feet, I had a good handful of members already. And we moved everybody over in September of 2019 into this one, which is our 25,000 square foot space. And we have this beautiful island that's in the middle near the kitchen. Alex knows where it is, I think. And I walked past, and there was like maybe 12 members sitting around, all just having a glass of water and just laughing and talking. And I was busy with someone else, and I was kind of walking past, and I looked over and I saw this, and my whole body just went, oh, this is why I built it. This is why I built it. And it didn't involve me. That was the beautiful thing. It was just happening, and it didn't involve me. And that made me feel really good. And now whenever I hear members talking to each other and collaborating, and you know, I just was introducing two of our members who are both environmental journalists, and one of them works for Environment Canada, and it's just so awesome. Just love it. Cross-pollination.
That sounds so heartwarming. And anybody that hasn't been to Quench, definitely go, because it's beautiful. Go check it out. Alex, what about you? What was your most satisfying moment?
Yeah. By the way, I feel like I need to go to Quench again. It's been so long, and I can like picture it, and I'm just, one day for sure. So I guess on the first question of like the ideas or creative side, I actually like never thought of myself as a creative person ever. I mean, I'm actually a singer, so technically there is a bit of like creativity in me, but being in numbers and analyzing, it just didn't feel like it worked that way. But I'm realizing that, that part it means a lot to me. And so I actually have learned to put time aside to not get into the operations, not get into the details and all that, but actually put time aside to like think and put my ideas on paper and like, brainstorm a little bit, because otherwise they go away. Like, what we were saying, they come and go. So I think it's important to like put that, aside, so that you're actually always improving, always, growing and everything there. So that would be that part. The satisfying moment in business, I feel like basically, with building this business, it was always just me at the beginning. I mean, still to this day, there's a lot of people that are just like, yeah, you're helping me. And it's like, well, actually, we're a team now. And so it's a lot of the time I'm not there. But last summer, we had kind of like a COVID friendly summer get together. It was actually really nice. The team actually got together. We don't work together in an office, so it's actually really cool to see each other every so often. And it was just sort of a moment of, wow, I have a really great team, and it's a team that's kind of doing this. It's not just me. It's like all these really cool people. So I think that was the moment where I was realizing, where we've come, and, who is here to, supporting us. And it was similar to what Tessa was saying. It's sort of like just seeing like, it's not just, me that's doing this, like there's people involved. And so it was a cool feeling for sure.
Yeah, definitely more of that connection and everybody getting together. Theresa, what about you? We are running a little bit short on time, so I don't want to rush you. We want to get through this question for you, but your new ideas and your most satisfying moment.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just had to think for a moment, a singing CFO. Wow. Just saying. So definitely new ideas. I write things down all the time. So when you see me looking down, I am writing, because I hear all sorts of things that I've heard from everybody who's spoken today. I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. And then I look at these notes later, I put them away, and then before the end of the day, I definitely write them down. I confess that I don't have very many bright ideas myself, but I'm bright enough to know one when I hear one. So I don't have to create them, but I can definitely steal yours. But for me, definitely new ideas come from my associates. I've got a team of 5 incredible women around me. And like I say, my husband Takashi in the business with me. But for sure, when the smartest thing I do is I will send out an email to them all saying, okay, I've got this project. This is something I'm working on. I've just created a course called Leading in 2021 and Beyond. So like leading the current workforce, so different from leading. And I had all these ideas, and I looked at what I put down. I thought, yeah, it's not flowing. It's not right. So put it out saying, okay, which of you wants to do this? I think it's most suited to Jen McKimmey. And she got back to me saying, oh, I'm all over that. Well, I just finished delivering it today. I'm just coming back from Victoria now in time for this. And I mean, I had to voice note her before I got into the car, like, OMG, like, Jen, this was amazing, because there's no doubt I couldn't have got there without her. And I just felt like it was our success together. So writing things down for sure. And from time to time, I have one at night. I have pen and paper everywhere around the house, because if I never thought of it like Tessa said it. I love the fact they're floating by, because that makes me go, that's why I write it down. Because I kind of felt like, are you a bit of a loser? You can't remember stuff. But I'm like, whatever, get on with it. But boy, that makes me feel so much better. Surround myself, and then surrounding myself with brilliant people. I'm never the smartest in the room, I'm telling you. So that's for sure. Inspiring people, supportive people that have a space to talk. Similar to Alexandra, I never thought of myself as creative, because I don't, but what I am super creative in is business, which might sound like dull, but I can't draw, I can't play a musical instrument. I can't even pick the clothes I wear. That's my big sister, Kathy, that does that. But give me a problem in business, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, let me get in there, So, and that my husband keeps saying, you are creative. Look at that. Look at the way you came around that. And I'm like, maybe a little bit, but still can't put on the wrong shoes with the outfit. And reading this book, Super Attractor by Gabby Bernstein, really made me understand that I can put it out there, and I need to be thinking, particularly after what happened 16 months ago, like I need to attract and be intentional about what I pull back into my world and reset this thing. I'm not just going to let it fall on my lap. I get to choose. And my most satisfying moment, just quickly doing that, is realizing just for moments that I inspire people who I don't even think are there to be inspired. And that would have to be my oldest daughter, Holly, who, when she turned back to me about 6 months ago and said, Mom, just do it. Just take messy action. I was just like, did she just say that to me? And I was like, damn, look at that woman go. So that would be.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to move on to the Q&A pretty quickly here. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat or in the Q&A section if you can get them in there. I don't see any in there yet. But our first question was around advice. So that was what our next section was going to be. We were going to ask what your advice is for people who are running their own businesses or wanting to start them. And this particular question was for people in their mid-level career. How do they get into leadership and things like that? So we'll just go around quickly, maybe 2 minutes each, give your piece of advice to everybody. And then if we have any questions, we've got about 15 minutes left to do the Q&A, and that's it for tonight. Alex, I think you haven't started one yet, so why don't you start?
All right. So I would say the biggest thing for me when I was starting, and I heard this from a couple people, but relationships and connection with people, so important. And so I think I mean, at least in my experience, I think a lot of the time, you strategize on, oh, who should I meet, or who do I need to know, or, what's going to be important at this point in time. But really, just if you can, like, meeting with everyone that you possibly can is really the key. Of course, you have to be mindful of your time and like plan for that. But it's, I think what I heard it being called is colliding with people. So just constantly colliding with people until you no longer can anymore. I mean, it's constant, really, because it's always going to happen. But it's just important to create those relationships, those connections that will ultimately, lead you who knows what later on down the road. And you just never know who is going to be there for what. So I think that is the most important. And I've learned that too in like my early 2 years of business. that has been a massive benefit to where I started and where I am now. So that's my advice.
We have a theme tonight, this connection. I love that term, colliding. I haven't heard that before. That's a really good one. Theresa.
Thanks. So for me, and I'm not sure where I got this advice from, but I definitely would say be careful who you seek advice from, because those people might not understand your business, or they're coming at it from their lens. So be really selective about who you're going to ask advice from, because you might think it's always your dad or uncle so-and-so because he's successful or because she's successful, you know, but be careful who you ask advice from. You shouldn't be open to everybody. Be selective. I've chosen mentors. And so about 14 months ago, I chose 2 new mentors to add to my bank of now 5. And those 2 mentors are both younger than me. They're both women, and they're both tech savvy and risk takers, because I knew what I needed and I knew what they would fuel me with. And I've met with them, one on a Monday, one on a Friday, for the last 14 months. And they've absolutely got me where I'm going to get, which is a month away from launching my customer service online, which I never thought that would ever happen, you know? So yeah, I mean, amazing. So for me, I love alignment is key, and an abundance mindset. Don't think that just because you have it means I don't. So I love collaboration, and you don't always have to work harder to get best results, which I'm still a work in progress on that one, because I think, oh, if I just work harder, then it will all, sometimes it's the alignment. And that's what Gabby Bernstein's Super Attractor taught me when I read that 12 months ago. And like Holly said, take messy action. It's okay if you just fail forward. At least you're figuring things out. But if you wait for that perfectionist to come, it's not coming.
So true. Tessa, you're up. Yeah, I love that. Great work, Theresa and Alexander. I saw this as a question and I was like, one piece of advice? Come on. So I think I see business differently because I see it just like life. I think that I conduct my business like I would conduct my life. So I really try to be honest, integrity, all those kinds of things, accountable. But I think that one of the things I've really learned is to really follow my gut. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, like the universe or whatever however you want to put it. It sounds hokey, but I don't think it is. It's like we get pushed in the direction we're supposed to. And if you're actually aware of it, you can see when, this is not working, and okay, I'm going to try this way. And I cannot tell you how many times during that 3 years where I was getting no money and I was like crying in my meditations, which I also advise everyone does, is just that, oh my God, okay, it feels like I'm not on the right path. Could you please just push me in the right direction? And something would happen that would keep me going. So I really think that that's important. And especially when you make business decisions, you sometimes, especially when you're on your own, as you know, Theresa, there's many of us that have to do these decision-making pieces on our own. It's like, okay, I'm just going to go with what the information I know now and go with my gut. So I really think that's really important, to trust your gut, even if someone else is saying, you should do this, you should do that. And encompassed with that comes, not all money is good money. So, not every investor that's going to give you loads of money is the direction you should go. And I've had many people since opening this now who want to give money, and it's just not, it doesn't feel right. And even sometimes with members, we can see when people it's not the right fit for them, and we don't want them to be where it's not the right fit for them. So even though we could really use that money, we sort of go, no, we want you to be where you're happiest. So not all money is good money, and follow your gut.
It's awesome. You guys, so many great things. Just love it. I just want to follow all of this advice. We've got about 10 minutes left, and just a few questions have rolled in here. So I'm just going to read out the questions to you guys and just hop in and answer wherever you feel called to do. And we'll answer as many questions as we can in the next 10 minutes. The first one is from Emily, and it says, I was wondering how you suggest newcomers might engage in networking as new arrivals or entrepreneurs in Canada.
I'm happy to take that one, because guess what? I started up a club that does that. So yeah, Emily, I would say, I mean, there's definitely some organizations out there that are like, I think Tectoria runs something that welcomes people. I know there's another one of my members showed me, but finding a good co-working space is a great start for you. It might not be Quench, it could be the Dock, it could be Tectoria, it could be Victopia. But finding that where you find a group of people who are on a similar path, or even maybe they're not on a similar path, but you might be like, oh, I need a copywriter, and there's someone sitting beside you who's a copywriter, or oh, I need someone who knows SEO, then that person's right there. So the amount of time being in a co-working space reduces in terms of finding the right people to help you is astronomical. That would be my suggestion.
Theresa, Alex, do you guys have anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I think finding a club that is somehow supportive, or you see that they're sharing information, and once you're in there, just trusting that if you feel comfortable to say, hey, I'm looking for, like you said, a copywriter or something, then I think if you're in a club that has the right values, I think that aligns with your values, then that can be really great. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm just going to speak to Suzanne's note there in the chat. I think that's Suzanne. Business for Business Networks is a great something to look at. It's basically the better version of BNI. And it's, like I told you before, creating those connections and relationships. And so if you're new coming in and you really just want to meet people and great professionals and get those resources, that is a great networking tool to use. So I'm happy to give more info on that if you guys or anyone's interested in that. Yeah, BNI.
That is awesome. Emily, I hope that was helpful. Our next one is for Theresa, specifically on leading in 2021. What was the difference in a nutshell? And is it related to mentoring a different generation?
Yeah. So first of all, we talk about, okay, millennials, what does that mean to you? And everyone goes, oh, entitled. And I go, all right. Oh, lovely. And then talk to us about baby boomers, everybody. And they go, oh, baby boomers. I'm like, great. Have you ever met someone that's over 50 who is entitled? Well, yeah. Okay. Have you ever met someone who is between 25 and 40 who is hardworking and, focused on financial security? And I'm like, okay, so stop with the labeling, stop with all that foolishness, because I mean, I've been someone that people have been trying to label since I left Jamaica, really, where they go, in America, they were like, are you black? Are you white? What music do you listen to? I'm just like, I'm Theresa. What is all of these questions? I don't need to be R&B or pop mainstream. It's just very bizarre. So I really don't think that we can group people together and say, as a group of age or a group of race that this and that and the other, so that's a big part of it. And it's so many things have changed, bringing us into 2021. Things like mental health is something that we would never speak about. I remember bringing my first child and my second child, little picture on my desk, and people would come in and say, hey, my name is Dickinson. Hey, Miss D, how's the baby? And I'd say, she's fine, thank you. Now, what did we want to do here? Because I dare not bring my personal life to work. I feel so ashamed to say that, I have to say, and I'm glad that the people, the women of today and the fathers of today get to talk about their children too, So I think, bringing your whole self to work, showing some vulnerability, and then really think about authentic connections. Like, how can we make authentic connections? We talk about emotional bank account, feedback, the FBI process method, which is unbelievable, but realizing that feedback is clear and kind, rather than sort of an opportunity to tell people off, but talking about people's dreams and hopes, even if they're nothing to do with a particular company, if they're not something to do with the property management, why can't we just talk about their hopes and dreams? Some companies call them dream meetings, not annual reviews. It's just, and have them a lot more often. If you're having annual reviews, you may as well call them exit interviews. So that's what's changed. And I try and give them tools to know that if the more that we can think that if we're comfortable being uncomfortable, then we're on the right path. Because I try not to teach people this how to lead in 2021. I want to teach you how to fish rather than just teach you this is a fish, go and take it. And if we can understand that the conversations we're having now and the wow moments we're having now are going to change next month and next year. So as leaders, if we're open and compassionate and connected with people, then we will be learning and growing as times go on. So that's the fun part. Nothing stays the same.
That was great. Amazing. Okay, we only have one question left, so I just want to get that one done before we finish up here. So if anybody has an answer for this one, just jump in. What are some blocks a person might encounter when moving into entrepreneurship from the corporate world, and how do you overcome them? In the next 3 minutes.
I mean, right away, what came to my head was money, finance, the financial aspect and the stability aspect, or like mindset of that. And so I think anyone, and I talk to a lot of female entrepreneurs looking to take that step, it's kind of having that like conversation in your head about the money piece, but also so much more. I mean, Tessa mentioned it, not all money's good. So you have to really think about what you want and, figure out financially what you need to kind of take that step. And it might be a slow transition of part-time work to entrepreneurship and then moving in full-time. But that is a big piece that you have to think about that, goes alongside. I mean, there's other things you have to think about in the meantime, but the finance thing and if you feel stable and financially independent and all of that, that goes a long way with it too. So, I mean, there's many ways to go about it. And I talk to people about their money all the time, but taking those steps so that you have the money that you need to live, and everything else is kind of bonus on top of that, so that you feel comfortable leaving that corporate world. So that was what came to my mind first.
Yeah, and I agree, Alex. Like to me, I think the main boundary for that kind of jump is your own comfort level. Like, I mean, I've lived off pretty much nothing for the last 4 years with 2 kids, and I was comfortable with it because there wasn't any other. As for me, for what I saw, there wasn't any other way to do it. But I can really understand now that I've started earning money. I'm like, well, this is nice. So that whole thing of, what did I say? It's really hard once you have money to then go down. It's just like you can do it, and it's just making that jump, and you'll survive.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just have to jump in there, I think. And we do have to. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there's nothing that will make you succeed faster than having no money. You've got to get in there and get it done. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We do have to wrap up now. We are at about just about 5 o'clock here. So thank you so much to all of our panelists on behalf of the Women in Leadership Foundation. We're so thankful for you guys to be here tonight and to share your wisdom and your stories with us. That was incredible. All of our attendees here tonight, we hope you will stay connected. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on our website there, or follow us on social. And yeah, thank you so much again for being here and for participating. That was super incredible. It is being recorded, so all of the registrants will get the link to the recording, and it will be posted on the foundation's YouTube page, so you can find it there as well. Yeah, thank you so much. We're gonna, right, 5 o'clock on the dot. We're gonna wrap it up.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, Jessica. That was great.
Thanks
Awesome.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch, Theresa.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, ladies.